everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Nathan Markley Show. I'm Nathan, and I'm here with
Seth Salois from the Forgarty Center.
And what do you do, Seth, at the Forgarty Center?
So my job title is called the Community Liaison. So I work with developing memberships, clubs, activities, integration into the community and kind of building out our relationships for the people that we support.
What is the Forgarty Center?
So we support individuals with developmental disabilities, but we're so much more than that in terms of what we do. We do have a residential program. So we have 17 group homes that are kind of scattered across the state, a lot of in the northern part of the state. And we have, I believe, 3 that are down in like the Barrington area, Warren area. We have a day program, North Day program that is based out of North Providence, Woonasquatucket Avenue. We have a South County Day program that's right off the URI campus, which is in the same building as our children's portion of what we do. There's a lot of other, employment and direct service, and there's a lot of components that I'm even just kind of learning about myself. But to me, what I really wanted to do with this position is to have it not just be, I just help residential, I help this. And I think with people's ability and staff and my supervisor, Heather, and David Reese, who is just incredible at bringing a community together, I think if I'm helping residential with something, well, maybe day program can be a part of that and we make it in the time frame that fits for them. Or with children. So I think we try to give everyone, hey, this worked. How can we make this work for you? It might not look the same, could be the same program, but how do we make it work for you? And I think getting feedback and asking questions and helping out and learning about the programs. I'm always learning every day about different things that we do and in funding and opportunities and what we're trying to accomplish, I think, as an organization is important. But I think ultimately when it comes down to it, and we've seen this when support's needed, those program walls aren't there. And I think we come together as a community, as an organization, and we do what's best for whoever needs that support. And I think for me, that's been a glowing aspect of being a part of Fogarty and what we do. It's allowed me to be successful in what I'm doing because I know that I have the support. And if I need questions answered, or if I need something, there's so many people I can go to, and I can take from their knowledge and learn from them too.
So you have a transformation project at the Forgarty Center. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure. When I came in, I started it was October of 2022. And obviously part of my job in general coming in through the grant was to really kind of establish, and with the position being very, very new, from kind of ground up, was really establishing relationships in the community and being able to open up opportunities for the people that we support in terms of being able to go out in the community and develop relationships and having opportunities to experience things that, all of us should have an opportunity to experience. So It was really about, kind of starting there and building something from scratch. I've worked in behavioral health for over 25 years, but strangely enough, I had started at the Fogarty Center as a direct support professional when I was in college. So all 4 years, anytime I was home on break or summer breaks, things like that, I always worked 40 hours. And, I got to kind of learn about building relationships and those opportunities. And that was early on, and it was between 97 and 2001. So I've kind of found my way back to Fogarty, which has been great. Hands down, the best experience I've had, working in the field, and it's something I feel like over 25 years I've been able to bring a lot of the the skills and the information and the building of relationships over that time period to kind of what this job is now.
So you help individual adults, right, with disabilities. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some examples of stuff that you've done?
So my goal, starting with the position, and it was funny when I got hired, before I even started, I really kind of, my brain went running on what we could create and what it could be. I think for me, what it really was, and I came recently I work for the Rhode Island Army National Guard. I work in their substance abuse and suicide prevention program. So one of the things we did, and I think was extremely effective, is we went out to our community providers. We met them face to face. We talked with them. We learned about their programs, how they work. We met the front desk staff, the people who were there, the people that we were supporting, we were going to see firsthand, and develop those relationships to a point where we're, first name basis. When I called somebody up, we had already established a relationship. So to me, it's never about just writing the email or making the phone call. It's about going to our community providers. It's about going to our organizations and giving them the opportunity, I think, to kind of show off their shiny toy a little bit and get excited about what they do, and then kind of ballpark on what opportunities we could have as an organization for the people that we support. And I always kind of use this when I go and talking to people. It's like, I don't just want to be, we have a membership, we go, we do the thing, and then we take our ball and we go home with it. To me, especially in Rhode Island, I think it's important to really cultivate and build relationships, because we're all kind of intertwined at points. So if we have a membership with somebody, it's not just we get to go to the zoo, or we get to go to the park, or we get to go to the aquarium, or whatever it may be. It's, if we're doing this, how can we get involved to help you build out your programs? Yeah. Like, for example, Save the Bay, we have a great relationship with them. They're going to be opening a new aquarium and a whole new kind of complex. And we've had discussions with them about being able to go in before that opens up and having our participants go in and put eyes on and have conversations with the people who are opening up to make it inclusive and to, you know, show the pathways of how it might not be building an entire building to make it inclusive, but maybe it's lighting, maybe it's sound, maybe it's just, you know, understanding of what people's needs are, to make it truly inclusive, but not with like a big spotlight over the top of it. It should be for anybody. And I think building out those relationships, having those conversations, and knowing that there's a relationship that goes both ways, I think for me, it's been a really important thing in building off of this grant and building relationships and opportunities. We built with Autobahn. I sat down with their education department for like an hour. We built out programming based upon, you know, our needs, but things that they could implement into their overall programs for anybody. So it's something that they're looking forward to being able to kind of utilize in their membership package that wasn't necessarily there before. We're using our skills and all the wonderful resources that we had from Fogarty and all the knowledge and the wonderful individuals that we support. They're able to give back to these programs and build something bigger and better for everybody.
Yeah, and that's great work, because not a lot of places out there are accessible, and there's people that can't get out who would love to go to Save the Bay or but can't, because they're not accessible. And you coming along, the Focus Center coming along and helping them say, this is what we can do, or this is what you can do to make it accessible so you can get more attraction and more people. And
to your point, I think accessibility is different for everybody. Yeah. So it could be wheelchair-based, it could be sound-based, it could be a lot of different things. And I think if we can educate and we can build that community, that's a really important thing. And I think off of, you know, a lot of the memberships and the clubs and the things that we've been able to build with the grant, the most important thing for me going is that I didn't want the grant to be like, okay, you know, we know how much we have, we built it down per person, what we can kind of use. We didn't just want to be like, all right, well, you get to just go to the Y, or you just get to go to the zoo, or you. So we said, all right, let's take it and let's see what we can do with these community providers so we can stack these memberships or activities so people have 4, 5, 6 different things that they can go out and experience. Because I think with this too, there's a longevity to it also. If you're looking at it from, you know, people will look at it from like an IEP standpoint or a paperwork standpoint, and those are words on a page. But I think if we give people opportunities with these activities, we now start to understand and really funnel down to individual interest rather than it being a large collective. Now we're able to understand that maybe this person who's never had this opportunity to do this now loves animals, or they like to do, you know, we have a place called the Creative Reuse Center where it's recycling in arts and crafts and things like that. Maybe their skill set is built for that, but they never had the opportunity. So I think as we create these opportunities, what we're really doing is we're allowing people opportunities of interest. Yeah. And then from there, maybe it builds out to volunteer, maybe it builds out to employment. And now we're really funneling down from a larger collective down to where I think everything should be, is everything should be individualized based on the person. So, but if they don't have those experiences, we don't know if they like them or if they don't like them, or maybe they might like it if it's a different scenario or a time. Those are things that we can do. Now we have those opportunities we didn't have before, you know, with the grants.
Awesome. How have you connected people in their communities?
I think one of the biggest things, and I think it was a great thing when I first started, is I got to take a class on person-centered planning. So to me, I think it was really identifying, you know, a person's, you know, their social support and structure of what they already knew, what was already there. And it's reaching out to people and it's talking to people and seeing who they know, what their experiences are, what worked, what didn't work, and building from there. So I think if you go out into the community and you have relationships that are already built, you know, I say it to our houses a lot of times, you know, if we're not on a silo and we're not all on individual islands, you could be a 7-minute drive from another house or another program, but maybe that program has had an experience that the other house has never had or doesn't even know exist. So if we start to build within our Fogarty community, we're communicating, connecting, and then we're building out to a larger community, what I start to find is that, oh, oh, you know, so-and-so at McCall YMCA. Oh yeah. For example, we're working with the Providence Pirates organization, and their community person that I'm speaking to is also the sports director at McCall YMCA. So now you're like, oh, I know this person here and that person there. So if I need something, or if I'm trying to create something, I can position myself to ask people who have had the experience. And I think for me, I've gotten a lot of amazing feedback and resource and support from the people at Fogarty, especially, my boss Heather and our associate directors and all of our program managers, and all the way up, Key O'Donnell, who's been a huge support for me from the day program and employment. It's really learning from them and taking what they were working on and putting it on my time plate and going out there and expanding the avenues that they've already created. It's sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just have to expand how many wheels you're kind of using. You know what I mean? So I think building out in those communities, going out face to face and meeting people, and not just sending an application through email scan, going out and handing it to them and shaking their hand and saying hi and show me around.
The old school way before technology.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who are excited to do a lot of things. I think one, they might not know where to go with it, how to build it out, or it might seem larger than what it really is. And I think two, you start to get people excited about what they do again and why they do it. Yeah. And it doesn't just become something that's ones and zeros. And I think when we do that, they realize that their program's building with ours. And I think ultimately for me, I would love Fogarty to set the example of best practices on how to build those relationships in the community and how to be able to build off of each other and have those opportunities, not just for Fogarty, which I think is great. There's so many other organizations who are supporting so many other people. And I think if we're collectively going about it the right way and establishing those relationships the right way, it's good for everybody. And I think ultimately that should be really the goal.
Cool. Have you experienced any challenges through this project that you experienced?
Every day, every single day. There are challenges because I think we're human beings, and I think there's a very important way of corresponding with people and communicating with people, where you have to respect their time. You have to really respect the work that they're doing and the opportunity that could be there. And I think that understanding that going in, what I try to do, and especially for us when we're doing events on our end too, is I try to make it be where the paperwork's done, everything's taken care of, people get to show up and do the fun thing, people get to show up and do the thing that's interesting to them, with all of the behind the scenes waiting. So if you show up and your paperwork's right, or you got your waivers done and it's in a folder, like for example, we do Sail to Prevail, and they were kind of busting me up at Sail to Prevail this year because when I showed up, I had Fogarty folders. All of our waivers were typed out, and they were like, usually we're waiting, having to like print up waivers for people when they get here and things like that. And for us, when I did that, joking aside, when they had a cancellation, we were the first people they contacted because we showed up and it was go do the thing. So I think our staff, our program managers, and our wonderful staff that work with, the people that we support, I think they're starting to see that the stress that comes from all the back end of things that need to happen for these events to happen, they're seeing that with what we've built out, we've been able to, they show up and do what they need to do and enjoy it. And now you're building experiences and you're building memories and you're building a lot of those things between staff and participants. And I think that only creates more cohesion in that relationship and within that house or within that program. But it's not always easy because we realize we're working with people who have businesses, who have needs. We're working with participants who have needs, need support a certain way. So I think you have to take that into consideration. You have to be understanding of what that is. And human nature can make things difficult, but you do the best you can to maintain that relationship.
Yeah, and trying to get things in order, be prepared before you go somewhere. It's always nice to have. It makes things much easier.
For example, we did a big event with Save the Bay. We had like 60 of us that went between staff, participants, and I took pictures. I got aerial views of where parking was. I had it set up. We when we got there, everyone knew to get there at this time early. So it wasn't just we get there and do the program. It's people could get there, get in, get settled, then they can start the program. Because depending on the need or the support that's there, I think anybody who would go into an experience like that and you're rushed, you're off a van and then start the thing, it takes you time to get comfortable in that. So we kind of prepared for that in the back end. And I literally walked in with a folder of 60 waivers. They had a whole list of all the attendees and who they were on both boats. And we handed it to them and it was done.
So when you have help prepare the participants with whatever you do. Do you do like mock events, whatever, to help them? For some individuals, they tend to, the unknown can be scary for them. How do you help them with that?
So a couple of things that I'll try and do is, when I go out, like I went out to Save the Bay before we even did it. I met with their staff. They showed me all around. I went on the boat, saw the boat, what the boat looked like and everything. I took pictures, I took videos. And when I sent out the email to say, hey, who wants to go? I attached all those things. So you could physically look at a video of seeing, this is what it looks like to get on the boat, on the ramp. This is the program. These are the classrooms that we're going to, have activity in, and then half the group's here, half the group goes on the boat. So I think that I would even go as far as if somebody really needed to feel more assured about something, to do a dry run, to say, hey, can we come down and, just to make sure that a person has the experience that they need. If they need to go and put eyes on it specifically and physically without seeing a video or a picture or something like that. And that goes for staff too, because there's parking considerations. There's a lot of different things to take into consideration. So, we're talking about doing some volunteering with a place called the Pawtucket Backpackers. And we haven't, they have videos of what they're doing, but we do have some individuals who would probably benefit from going and instead of just doing it, being able to go and see the process first. Yeah. So it's really just, I think, understanding. And I think organizations, I think they appreciate that, because I think they really want to show what they do, and they want to give somebody the opportunity to do that in the most comfort that we can provide, so that it's enjoyable and it is what it's supposed to be. So I think asking those questions beforehand and doing your prep work for staff too, it makes it easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, it is. Know what to expect is always easier to.
Yeah,
express.
absolutely.
And you probably get more people involved too if they know what to expect too. Because a lot of people probably don't say, yes, I'm going to do this, because they're unsure, the unknown, and it might be scary.
I think the word I like to use is expectation.
Expectation, that's the word I was looking for.
So for me, with the wonderful organizations that we work with, when they're working with me or they're working with Fogarty, when I talked before about best practices, I always try to set that expectation that they know what they're getting when they're getting it. And I think the same thing goes for the people that we support. And I think staff too, as I've built out, and this was literally ground up from, I do so many different things to showcase. I do a monthly newsletter that has all of our events in it and pictures and all these wonderful things that we do. I do a spotlight on a person that we support every month from all the different programs to show, hey, this person works. They go out, they love going shopping. They like dressing. If they had all the money in the world, they would go to Hong Kong for vacation. All those different things to showcase. But I think ultimately for me, you need to set an expectation. And I think there's a level of ease with organizations if they know what to expect from you. They know that you're going to have your paperwork. They know that you're going to show up on time. They know that you're going to do the thing. But on the opposite side of that too, staff and the people that we support know that when they show up, they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be put in the best hands possible. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to be enjoyable. And it's going to be something that's an experience that they won't forget and hopefully will want to do more of and do more of it together. And I've really tried to set that standard for us. And I think with this grant and what we're doing, I would really like to set that best practice of this is how you do it to build that relationship, and not just for now, but to build it out with longevity.
Awesome. Is there any other comments or anything you'd like to share with us that we haven't covered?
I think just that I think it's important that we really continue to build off of what this grant represents and the opportunities that it's given us. And I think it's very important that we continue to build out into our community and establish those relationships and have that two-way street. Because I think there's a lot of organizations down from libraries to, your Audubons, your Save the Bays, your YMCAs, your things like that, where I think that people have a thirst of building out their programs to be inclusive. And that doesn't mean it's in a silo or you have a light over the top of it. But I think anybody could benefit from maybe some of those things. But I think having the ability for the people that we support to educate and to show what that means and what it looks like, and not just from a staff perspective. And with these experiences, I think having these opportunities and having more time to build these out, I think is going to be nothing but great. And like I said, to me, I think it's important to really show a best practice of doing things. Because I think if Fogarty's doing things the right way, and we can showcase what other people can do in other organizations, we can really build out so many more opportunities if we're working in a cohesive manner with all these wonderful organizations. Plus, we're a small state. So people know people, and I think it's great that we can build that social capital with that, and we can really to expand on possibilities for everybody. So I'm very proud. I know we're all very proud of what we've been able to do with this grant. And I hope that we can continue, because it takes time. We've opened these doors, and I think we opened some amazing doors, but it takes time to build out these relationships and these experiences and to really flourish them down to something that's very individualized for everybody. So I hope that we have the opportunity to continue to do this on a larger scale, because we've already seen just the difference, I think, from the feedback I've gotten, and the change in what we've done as an organization, I think has been spectacular. And there's so much more that we can do too going forward. You know, I looked at the Autobahns because I think Autobahn is a great opportunity to see what we do and what's available in our state. Their main their business office is in Smithfield, but they have multiple areas where you can learn, and they have so many different experiences. And I think meeting with the education department and sitting down talking with them and having our pads out and really ballparking things, you know, they're very open to building out events and activities and more than what their memberships, I think, represent. And I think that's another thing with a lot of memberships, is that it's not just what's on paper, it's what's possible. I mean, Save the Bay, I think, is a really shining example. And I know that we went, our CEO, David, he was so floored with what he learned that day that I think a lot of people don't understand the work that's being done around the state with Save the Bay and Autobahn. You know, my relationship with the YMCAs, they've been nothing but wonderful to work with and want to build out those relationships. One of the things we're building out right now, we're building out a music therapy class. A gentleman who's been doing drum therapy for over 30 years. I contacted him. We started kind of game planning and ballparking what that might look like. And I'm like, hey, instead of just you come to our center and we do the drum thing, it's like, well, why don't we contact McCall? What, do you have classroom available? Yeah, sure. Okay, when do you need it? 2 Thursdays a month between this time. Great. Come on in. This is how we'll set it up. So now we have 3 community connections coming together. And I think for us, like, quick stories, not obviously, I won't give any names, but you know, we've had a lot of new individuals come to Forgarty that we really had to learn, you know, the ins and outs, the things they enjoyed, their experiences as a person. And we've been able to utilize these memberships where we, you know, individual might have not have wanted to go out first or was having difficulty with transition to a new house or something like that, you know, was able to use one of these memberships to go to Lake Capron Park or Roger Williams Park and go out, and never knew that the person loved animals. And all of a sudden it opened a doorway, it opened an interest to now that focus expanded to now I'm going out to eat with other houses or with my housemates, or now I can take my family and go do these things and expand on something that's now new, and you can let that blossom. So I think the memberships have really created that. And what I've been able to do is been able to go back and get feedback about these experiences and see the pictures and see all these different things. We had an individual, we had Biomes, which is down North Kingstown. We had an individual who went to the Biomes and just fell in love with the lights and the colors and all the sea life and learning about them. And it just expanded and opened up that person's horizon to try other things. And one of the things I try to stress to staff and to our participants, and you know, when I try to kind of pump up to do these events, is, hey, if you're going to go out and do something, you don't have to do the whole thing. So if you can get 15 minutes out of it, maybe that 15 minutes becomes successful, and maybe then it becomes a half an hour. Or maybe you go to the high school football game, but you don't sit in the stands because maybe it's too much at first, but maybe you bring some chairs, and then you get to go to the concession stand. And then the next time you go, instead of staying for a half or a quarter, maybe you stay for the whole game. Or maybe you go into the stands now, because now you're building from a level of success. And I think what that does is, and this is my point to needing more time, to be able to utilize these memberships and funding like this, I think to me, it's important when we get to that point, what it does is it allows that to be a success. And now we put that in our belt, right? But down another person's like, well, that went really well. Maybe I'll try that. And then maybe I'll try that. And I think as we start to build out where it's not stressful and it's not, oh, we have tickets for the, you know, Thursday the 3rd. If someone's sick or something happens, no, we go, okay, do we have staff on that day? Yes. But is there a better day that it might work for everybody? Yeah, okay, let's do it that day. You know, so I think those experiences you don't have to climb the whole mountain. I think with everyone, and we build out to the individual thought on things, right? Yeah. We go, all right, so maybe we try a half an hour today. And maybe that person 5 years ago had a bad experience, but maybe it was a bad day. Or maybe something happened 2 days ago and it wasn't about the event. It was just the culmination of that, right? So we need to try. Maybe they're better during the day. Maybe they feel more comfortable at nighttime, half an hour. Build up that time. It doesn't have to be the 4-hour excursion. And I think the more that we do that, we're building from a place of success, a place of comfort. Like we talked about, how do we make a person feel comfortable going to an event? But now it's starting to open up that catalog of possibility, right? So the more opportunities we have, the more we're able to drill down to that individual interest. And maybe that, and I don't want to look at it from an ISP standpoint, but maybe the words on the page build out to maybe I want to volunteer. Or maybe I want to start my own business based on this interest. Or maybe I want to go work or do something with this. Or maybe I just feel comfortable with the membership and going. But if they don't know that and they don't have the opportunity to do it at their pace and what meets their expectation, I think we were crossing things off too early. Yeah. And I think to me, that's a good way of approaching it myself. So.
Yeah, I can relate to some of what you said. When I was in college at Washington University, I joined the radio station there. Now, I had a podcast before, just as interest, but after I joined the radio station, that's when I really found out I love audio, I love talking, and interviewing and doing this setup. And so why I decided to start a business podcast and do that. But yeah, making those connections, being out and going places you find things you like and things you never thought you would be doing.
I'm amazed that every day I come into work, and I can truly say I love coming in every single day. And it took me 25 years to be able to say that, but I learned something new from a different person each day, whether it's a staff or it's a person that we support. And it's something that might be something that I can't do, or maybe it's something that I never understood that way. And maybe it's better for me to know it in that way. So I think as we have these opportunities and we're able to really build out these experiences, I think organizations will start to see that as something, yeah, it's a business, right? But at the same time, if that business can serve in a different way, and they realize that it doesn't have to be a building with massive ramps or all, and maybe it is that, but maybe it's lighting, maybe it's music, maybe it's just approach, maybe it's whatever it is, maybe it's comfort of being able to go early to see it. I think if businesses know that and organizations know that, they're getting something, we're getting something, and we're building within a larger community in the whole state. Yeah. And I think it's best served if we do it that way.
And one of the things I like about, because I just interviewed Best Life with this transformation project grant, we're getting people outside the house. This is stay inside the house and not being social. I mean, yeah, you can be social on technology. Now, I'm a big tech geek.
Me too.
But I've realized that in the past, I spent too much time on my phone. And it's not good for you. It's not good for your mental health. It's bad for your eyes and everything. So being outside, getting out, connecting with people is better than going back before smartphones, before that. So it's good. And that's one thing I like about what you guys are doing when you get them out in the community.
It's personal relationships, personal connections. It's seeing someone's face and being excited to see them, or knowing what you're getting from them, and I think that's so important. And I think if you don't take the time to do that, we kind of get wrapped up in the rat race of emails and text messages and things like that, or God forbid another Zoom meeting if we don't have to, But I think all those things fall in line with a good level of communication, but I think it should always start face to face and having those conversations.
Yeah, and I think these grants also came at a right time because after COVID too.
Yeah.
It's a great time. Everyone was locked in their house.
We were on our own islands and very comfortable with that.
Bringing people back together.
And that's another point too, quick, is that I think COVID made us very comfortable on our own island because we felt safe, we felt comfortable, but I think it takes time for us to stop feeling comfortable to build out of that. Yeah. And I think you can't speed that up, but you have to give opportunity. And it can't, and now is like, I go back to stacking those memberships and clubs and things like that. If you just know the YMCA, well, then that's what we do. But if you get to experience 5 or 6 different things, and then you get to go to clubs and you get to meetings and you meet people, and now you're developing relationships that are outside the realm of the people that are there to support their natural relationships the way it should be, right? So if we have those opportunities and it's 6 or 7 different things, you don't know what's going to happen when a person experiences those, and it doesn't matter who it is. So I think the grant has been great at doing that. And I think if we had the opportunity to do that on a larger scale with more time, I think all it's going to do is blossom, and we're going to really be able to drill down to people's individual interests and go forward from there.
Yeah, I'm using the technology and everything we have, bring non-technology and technology together to help it just make it even better.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So if someone wants to get in contact with you and the work you do at Forgarty Center, how would they go about doing that?
So email would be good.
What's the email?
It's S Salois. So it's SSALOIS at FogartyCenter.org. So people can reach me there. We do have a portion if you go to the Forgarty Center's website where there's one of the drop downs, so you can find me on there. But basically, if you need me, call up Fogarty. They'll find me. Trust me, and I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody and show them kind of what we're doing.
This has been great. Thank you, Seth, for joining. And I
thank you so much for having me.
Your project.
Thank you so much.
Have fun.